firstly, a warm welcome to you on Filme Shilmy and congratulations on the big bull.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, when it comes to sort of playing grey characters and layered characters like Hemant Shah and of course Avinash as well in Breathe, what process does an actor go through to fully grasp and surrender yourself into that character, into the situation that you're put in?
Wow. I think it all starts with having great writers and them writing great parts for you. And that's where it starts from. That's the basic germ, and if it's there on paper, most of the time it's pretty simple to not mess it up. You have to be of immense talent to have to mess up the written word. And I think it starts with just great writing. If the writers can conceive it and write it, and the director can then bring it onto celluloid, you're set. You just have to show up and be at the right place at the right time.
Very well said. Very well said. But I think when I watched Hemant Shah, I felt so nostalgic of Guru Kant Desai. I mean, I don't know if you felt the same as well when you had read the script, when you had actually, got the big bull. Was there ever that thought of comparison ever? Did that ever cross your mind?
No, in all honesty, no. I've had this reaction a lot, and I get why people would say that. It's similar rags to riches with the business backdrop, but I think that's where the similarities start and end. And so no, I never did. I think as an actor, you're always attempting to and trying to not repeat what you've already done in the past. And we try. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. I think somewhere you have to also put it down to the fact that it is the same physicality of the actor. I mean, if the same actor is playing two different roles at the end of the day, it is that one person who's doing it. So I think, I didn't really think about Guru in that sense, and the quest obviously isn't to try and duplicate that. But you try and create a new character. You try, but I understand why people would see a lot of Guru Kant Desai in Hemant Shah. I mean, it's not just the Gujarati connection, but I think it's that whole backdrop of business and their never say die attitude and the focus with which they go out to achieve their dreams.
Yes, exactly right. And you know what? I'm glad you said this, and I wanted to actually take this opportunity and say that I've seen so much about the comparison between The Big Bull and Scam 1992, and I just want to say that having seen both the series and the film, I can definitely say that the angles are very different. I can say that it is very different from each other, and I watched it with a neutral stance as well, so I can definitely vouch for that too, Abhishek, as well. So I just wanted to kind of convey that.
Thank you. Yes, I think they're very unique perspectives on a similar subject, and I think every storyteller has their own unique way of telling a story. I've said this quite often during the promotions of the film, that most of us had the pleasure and the blessing of being put to sleep by our mothers as children. And they were usually putting you to sleep by either singing you a bedtime story or telling you or singing you a bedtime lori.
Right.
And very often that bedtime story was pretty much the same story, but you never got bored of it because it was always told in a different way.
Right. Yeah.
So there can be two different tellings of a similar story. And
absolutely.
I have full respect for the team of Scam. I think they did a fantastic job. All of them, the writing, direction, the acting, everybody was just fantastic. And but theirs was a web series, so it's a very different approach to making a movie. I've spoken a lot about it also last year when I was doing Breathe, about there are two different disciplines in writing for a web show and writing for cinema. There are two different functions you're trying to get out of your audience. There are two different reasons why your audience have also come to see what they've come to see. There's a different reason why they come to a digital streaming platform, and there's a different reason why they've come to a movie theater. And you have to cater to that. I mean, the basic differences of time, etc., have been spoken about a lot. I mean, on a web show, you have 8 to 12 hours to tell your story. You have the liberty and the comfort of time. You do not have the liberty and the comfort to be boring, because that person has to press that one button and they're gone.
Yeah.
In cinema, you only get 2.5 hours to do justice to your entire story. So there have to be different approaches, and I think that's what is the main difference between Scam and the Big Bull. And I think they're unique approaches, and I think they both can be viewed. I'd like to believe we've done a good job. I'd like to believe that I've tried to give it my best and tried to be as convincing as possible. And
You were definitely.
watch it and take the decision for yourself.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I really enjoyed the film, and like I said, and like what you said, it's true. Like Devdas, for example, we have, of course, the original Bimal Roy film, and then we also have Bansali's version of it, and then we also have Anurag Kashyap's version of it. So it's the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
story that's been told multiple times. So I completely
absolutely.
vouch for that. I really also what I love the most about characters like Hemant Shah or even Arthur Fleck. I mean, I know they're very two different characters, but what the sort of commonality that I find about them is that it makes us question their morality in many many
Mhm.
ways. Of course, what they do is problematic, and it is obviously something that's very questionable. But I think for you as an actor, and I know you kind of said that you obviously rely on the writing and all of that, but how do you as an actor ensure that his criminality was never glorified, and how did you sort of maintain that balance, I guess, in terms of conveying the ethics and morality of the character?
Well, that's a very, very, very nice question. So, firstly, thank you for that, because we don't get asked that kind of question very often. The point of view that Cookie, my director, Cookie Gulati, had was he didn't want to come down on any side of the proverbial fence.
Right.
He said, look, I'm just going to tell the story the way I see it, as an interesting story. Where the audience feels his moral compass lies is up to their interpretation.
Uh-huh.
We attempted very clearly not to deify him or to demonize him.
Yes.
I was very keen that let's show it as it is written. So I told Cookie, one of the first things, like, I hope you're going to be true to your written word. Don't change anything. And let the audience decide. And I think that's why Ilyana's character also at the end says, you take a decision whether you thought he was a hero or a villain.
Yeah.
So in a case like this, I don't think there was that pressure of the morality of the character. I do agree that in terms of writing, I don't think that the writers should be pressurized with the morality of a character. I think the producers and the actors, when they step into a project, they have to worry about that, because you're then making something for an audience. And we all want to cater to a particular audience, and then that's where the morality comes into it. But as far as Hemant Shah was concerned, I just wanted to tell a story of this meteoric rise of this person and how he achieves what he achieves, how he stumbles along the way. And whether, what you thought of him is actually up to you as the audience.
Yeah, it's a similar case with, I think we had Akshay Kumar's Rustam. I think also again that also kind of made us question morality in many many ways as well. And I think that's what
Yes.
really fascinates me the most about such characters. I mean, for you as an actor, I'm sure it must be something very interesting to sort of play that as well, right? Because you're not just playing a character which is one linear or one
Yeah,
sort of.
I think Anuj, that time is done. Where the hero has to be this very moralistic character.
Absolutely,
I
exactly.
really feel today's generation is interested in seeing human characters.
Yes.
I think they're far more interested in seeing a flawed gray character where everybody has their shortcomings. Everybody has issues in life. Everybody has baggage. But despite that, to overcome and achieve, I think that's the basic arch that people are looking at now. I don't see too many characters today which are being viewed repeatedly that are like what the heroes we used to enjoy in the 70s and the 80s and
Exactly
the early
right.
90s. Today, we
Yeah.
want to see them more real, more tactile. We want to believe that that's something we could have done as well. And in
Yeah.
order to achieve that reality, you have to make them approachable. You have to make them relatable.
Absolutely. Very well summarized. And I think that's something which I've noticed, and I'm glad, I'm grateful for, because I think it's too much this distinction between hero and villain, because that doesn't exist in life. There's
Yeah,
also a gray
yeah.
which people don't address. And I think that's something which is very important. But I think, Abhishek, it's been a great time for you recently. I mean, you've had three different releases on different major OTT platforms, of course, including the Big Bull on Disney Plus Hotstar. And also, I really enjoyed that documentary on Kabaddi as well. I think
Oh,
that was
thank you.
fantastic. I really, really loved it. So how much of a game changer do you think are these mediums to you as an actor, especially at this time of life where you're almost celebrating what, 20 years in the industry? So
Yes.
how much of a game changer is it for you?
I mean, it's a huge differentiator because I think first and foremost, it's just opened the floodgates for the demand of good talent.
Mm,
Not just in front of the camera, behind the camera as well. You know, writers, directors, producers, technicians, actors. When there's more work being produced and made, you're going to need more people, and I think that's great. And what's really nice is they're all getting the opportunity to showcase their talent. It's
mm,
wonderful because, like I said, it's a very different medium as well. So there's
mm.
different kind of material that is working on a digital platform than compared to, say, our cinemas. And I think that's important to pick up very earlier on. What necessarily works in our cinemas isn't necessarily going to work digitally, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think like I said, the requirements of the audiences viewing it is different. So it's a very exciting time. I mean, having done now 3 to 4 projects that have come out digitally,
Mm.
it's creatively very liberating because the requirements are different. So it's you're able to fulfill other recesses of your creativity, which you possibly might not get the opportunity to do in cinema.
Yeah, and do you know, okay, so this is a bit of a hypothetical question actually, Abhishek, and I think I'm just curious to know what you have to say actually about this. But because OTT platforms in a way has, I guess, given opportunities to actors, especially maybe many of your contemporaries as well, to do characters which they've not really done before on the big screen, on in Bollywood or in Hindi cinema. Like for example, we had Safe in Sacred Games recently. If maybe if OTT platforms were there in your prime time when you obviously had broken through and you were obviously
Prime
very
time,
well.
prime time. What you on about? What do you mean prime time? I'm just getting started here.
Yeah, when you were gaining like immense popularity at that phase, like you get what I mean, right?
Yes.
But if it was back at that time, I mean, when you obviously were fresh and when you were new, how do you think things would have been different for you?
Wow, I don't know. But having said that, Anuj, I've always liked to believe that I've done the work that I was convinced about. I never looked upon it as taking a risk to, say, do a guru at the age of 28, 29, where I played a 70-year-old character who put on 20 kilos. I
Yeah.
never thought of it. I never thought of that when we did Dostan, and there was this huge talk about, oh, but you're going to be playing a gay character. I never looked upon it as that. I've
Right.
always looked upon Dostan as a really funny film. I've always looked upon Guru as just a great character to play. I've always
Mm,
looked upon Lallan Singh from Yuva as just a fantastic actor. Why would you not want to play a role like that, even if he was negative?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
so I have never really thought about it in that way. But there are certain things, like I said, that you start learning along the way and realizing about cinema that possibly those rules don't matter on OTT.
Yeah.
So you're not. I would say, I mean, if I could be wrong, but I feel maybe the obligation to your audiences is not as much on an
Mm,
OTT platform.
right. Yeah.
I feel on cinema, like I said, there's a different criteria. Your fans expect certain things out of you. They expect you to do certain things. They expect you not to do certain things. And I feel on a digital platform, you start from scratch.
Mm,
So there is a different requirement in that sense. But I've traditionally never looked upon it as, oh, this is a risk or this is. I've always done films because I've always believed from the start that if you, when you hear the script and the story
mm.
for the first time, one of my criteria for doing the film is this a film I'd like to watch?
Yeah, true, true,
And if
true.
this is a film I want to watch, then I do it.
Mm,
And I think that criteria shouldn't really change. I mean, because you're an audience in yourself, and if you feel it's a film that you'd like to watch, then why would somebody else not want to watch it?
Indeed. In fact, I'm curious to know actually, what sort of a script would you reject or say no to?
There isn't any set form, but if broad strokes, and this is very general, but probably a film that I feel that my family couldn't sit down together and watch.
Okay.
Possibly. Maybe that's just the frame of mind I'm in right now. I can't channelize that or zero it down to something specific. But
Sure.
obviously something that I feel I couldn't sit with my family. And I mean, in that, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. You know, I grew up in a household which made movies for family viewing. You know, I'm Manmohan Desai's biggest fan. So I want to make content which everybody can go together and watch together.
Of course. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, in fact, one of the first, I mean, just referencing your father's works as well. I mean, one of the first Bollywood films I ever saw in my life was Sholay.
Oh, wow.
Because my dad was a big fan. In fact, he used to tell me how much they used to like sort of emulate that back in their village, and I used to kind of like kind of look up to that film. So I can totally resonate with that. So I
Yeah.
really, really can understand that. But I think because we're talking about life here, Abhishek, I think one of your major achievements recently as well was getting involved with Kabaddi, which is such a beautiful sport and such a rooted sport, especially in our culture as well. I mean, what personally motivated you to sort of back Jaipur Pink Panthers, and how has the spirit of the sport, which is also about fighting and completely being motivated and dedicated and fighting back in many ways, how has that helped you to sort of, I guess, combat the challenges that you face in life as well?
Well, I've always been a sportsman all my life, from school to college. I've been a huge sports fan.
Hmm.
I've always wanted to do something in our country with sports, and Kabaddi just felt right. It's India's indigenous sport. It has its history. I mean, you've seen the documentaries, you've seen the history behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just felt right. And I think being a sportsman or playing a sport is wonderful because it really equips you for life. It teaches you so much. Um, a never say die attitude, learning when never to give up, even when the odds are stacked against you, to keep fighting till that final whistle. And teamwork, leadership. When in life you need to be on the front foot and be more aggressive and attack, and when you need to be on the back foot and defend.
Absolutely.
So there's several parallels you can draw with your real life, and it's taught me all of that. And I really do believe that having played sports in my younger years competitively, it really teaches you a lot to deal with stuff in real life.
Yeah. And the thing is, because you've, like you said, because you said you've always had that sportsman spirit in your life, and because you have had your fair share of successes and failure as well, is that what keeps you going? Is that how you deal with both of those aspects in life?
Oh,
Is that the
absolutely.
sportsman spirit?
Absolutely. Just because you win a match today doesn't mean you're going to win it tomorrow. Similarly, just because you've given a hit today doesn't mean you're going to give a hit tomorrow. It's an entirely different match the next time around, and it's an entirely different film the next time around. So you have to work as hard, if not harder, because if you've won your last one, there's a bigger target painted on your back, right?
Yeah.
So you have to work even harder. There'll be that much more expectation from you. So yeah.
Indeed. And I think being in the spotlight as well, as an actor, because everything about you is pretty much public, right? So I guess it can be very excruciating, and the burden as well, like you mentioned as well, but the continual delivery must be resting quite heavy on your shoulders too. I mean, would you say there are immense expectations from you, or do you kind of feel like you've stayed away from that burden?
I want the expectation. I want the pressure. I
Um,
enjoy it. It wakes me up every morning, makes me go out and do a better job. It pushes
right.
you. It motivates you, as it should. So I think the day you don't want that pressure anymore, then your desire to do what you want has left you, and then you should just stop doing what you're doing. So I'm okay with the pressure. I enjoy it. I like it. I like dealing with it. I like trying to stand up to it. I like to try and go beyond it if I can.
hmm hmm And I think because obviously being a father as well, and like you said, because you said you're in that mindset right now where you're sort of where family comes first, right? Because I guess you have so many different responsibilities as well. I guess how has fatherhood, I guess, changed the way you look at life, and even your craft as well as an actor. When you do a character like Avinash as well, which is obviously very protective of her of his child, how has that sort of played out for you?
Well, I think having a kid just prioritizes your life for you. Till then, pretty much you've always put yourself first. But I think children just make you realize that there is a higher calling and there is a bigger reason for you doing what you're doing. So it makes you think a lot of it puts a lot of things into perspective.
Hmm. And like I think because you are doing such great work at the moment, like I mentioned, I think Ludo was fantastic as well. What sort of roles are you kind of excited to kind of explore now? Is there a particular milestone or sort of goal that you'd
No,
like to achieve?
I'm just enjoying the work I'm getting, man. And firstly, part of it just to be an employed actor, I think is fantastic.
I
But
know.
apart from that, just getting such interesting characters to do is just so much fun. I mean, Big Bull is out now. I mean, I finished Bob Biswas a couple of months ago.
Oh
That's coming
wow.
out later in the year. I'm shooting in Lucknow right now. I'm talking to you from Lucknow, where I'm shooting for Dasvi, which is my next film. That's
Yeah.
almost done. I finished that. I go on to the next season of Breathe. So there's a lot of exciting work going on, and I'm just happy to be doing it.
Yes, I'm really. Can I just say I'm so excited to see Bob Biswas. Like
Thank you.
I think he's one of the best villains we've ever seen in Indian cinema. Like his face, like he kind of has serial killer just written on his face, like with the
Yeah.
way he kind of does his act. And I think that chillingness, I think it just is what gets me. In fact, I'm really glad you mentioned this as well, because I think your next films, Dasvi and Bob Biswas, I guess show you in more raw and questionable characters, I think, to an extent as well. So in what ways do you think these films and these roles have kind of pushed you further as an actor?
Well, I think I've been very lucky because they're brilliantly written characters, both of them. I don't want to discuss too much about them right now because it's a bit premature because we're still just in the process of finishing it up. But I think they're wonderfully written and they're so different from each other. And I just feel so lucky that Sujoy, who wrote Bob Biswas,
Yeah.
and diametrically different, and I just feel very lucky and blessed that directors and producers think that I'm able to essay such a variety. And that's, I mean, that kind of puts a lot more stress because you need to work a lot harder than, of course, not to let them down. But I'm just enjoying it that, I get to play different characters and bring them to life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing, especially with Bob Biswas as well. I guess there's a lot more expectations again from you as well, right? Because obviously it was played by a different character, by a different actor in Kahani. So I guess that whole factor, I guess it must be quite conscious for you to not emulate any of that and trying to rely on the new material that you have, isn't it?
Yeah, I think once they see the film, they'll understand. So I didn't really stress out too much about all of that.
On that note, Abhishek, I just wanted to say, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing some more amazing work from you. Like I said, I think The Big Bull is definitely another feather in your hat, and a huge congratulations to you on that. And I can't wait to catch up with you again, hopefully for Dasvi and Bob Biswas.
Great. I look forward to it. Thanks, man. Thank you for doing this.
Lovely. Thank you, Abhishek. Take care.
Take care. Stay safe.
You too, buddy. Bye.
Bye. Bye.